Have the Google Pixel phones done the impossible? Well, there's some new data that suggests that they might have leapfrogged and possibly passed up Motorola, but gotten themselves to just under a 13% market share in the US in just a couple of months, which would be something completely crazy if we can actually confirm this. So there's a organization or website called Stat Tracker, I believe, and apparently they aggregate data from 1.5 million websites that has to do with tracking this stuff, and it looks like they might have like a 12.79% market share, 12.9%, if that's true. It may or may not be true, but some other data report shows that 4% of all smartphone shipments in the US were Pixel phones. So regardless of whether they actually bumped up to about 13% of U.S. market share, which I'm very skeptical about. If they hit 9%, 10%, I mean, anything would be pretty amazing. They held pretty steady at 5% last year, which was up from like the 3 point something percent the year prior to that. So if nothing else, all the data is trending in the right direction that people are buying the Pixel phones, and particularly the Pixel 9. So this new information and data is wholly attributed to the Pixel 9 launch. Of course, they took a big shotgun blast to pattern approach and came out with 4 phones: Pixel 9, 9 Pro, 9 Pro XL, and the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. So more devices than ever to buy, and also it seems like Apple has suffered a market share loss of about 4 or 5% in the same period over the last year. So it seems like Apple's lost a little bit, and also like Xiaomi, some of those other guys, they've lost about 0.5%. So there was some market share to pick up there. But the big news is it looks like people are actually finally adopting the Pixel phones, whether that was because they like the new look, whether that's because they finally bought in with the Tensor and they think the Tensor 4 Generation 4 is better, or because of the lack of enthusiasm towards the iPhone. Now, we talked about this previously, how it seemed like there was less interest in the iPhone 16. People weren't really buying into Apple Intelligence and don't really care about the camera action button. So we'll see. I'm sure this will be more confirmed later on once we can get some hard data on this. But preliminary stuff that we're seeing, it looks like people are buying the phones. 4% of overall smartphone shipments in the US, that's pretty big. And the important thing to note is over the last couple of years, we've seen them go up 1%, 2%, and maybe even a big leapfrog percentage up to in the 12% category of market share here in the U.S. Now, I know what you're going to say, or some people are going to say in the comments, I never see any Pixel phones. Well, just because you don't see one, it doesn't mean they aren't there, right? 1, how many people do you see? 2, how many phones you're looking at? And 3, that just represents such a small set of data. Like, you can't go on a bus and be like, oh, I only saw one Pixel phone, and extrapolate that out and say that nobody has Pixel phones. So I've definitely seen more of them out on the street. I've been going places, traveling. I was in Japan. Of course, they've got a big market share influence there. I was traveling in Europe. I see them on the subway. I see them on the train. Here in the U.S., I've seen them as well. So it's nothing that's like striking enough where obviously they're going to replace the iPhone. Like, the iPhone still has like a 50% market share in the United States. But of course, that's something that Samsung and other Android phones have been trying to hack away at for a long time. But this is promising information. Even if they just went from 5% to 7%, that would be massive. If they went from 5% to 8 or 9%, that would be like a moonshot. So I'm very skeptical in thinking that they went from 5% market share to 12.9% in just one quarter. That would have to be a tremendous amount of phone sales. But also at the same point in time, Google did just report that it was their best quarter ever in the history of selling Pixel phones. So there's a lot of things pointing in the right direction. Like Google, biggest sales ever. We've got independent data showing 4% of all U.S. market phone sales this last quarter were Pixels. And then this Stat Tracker website that they're in the business of doing this. They've been doing it for a while. So take it with a grain of salt. But if you're a fan of the Pixel phones, this is maybe a shiny gold star referendum for the Pixel phones, if you will, that they're doing some good things. And I think by and large, the Pixel 8 series was pretty good. I think a lot of people liked them. They sold, they were successful. And now with the Pixel 9, I think that they're more attractive than ever. They look super premium. They look cool. They've got lots of great accolades. Of course, they're the #1 smartphone camera in the U.S. by a hair over the iPhone. and they're leading the way with AI. Maybe people like Gemini, maybe people like the all the stuff that goes along with the AI stuff, and they trust Google with it. I don't know. I don't know what exactly it is that's drawing people in. Maybe it was because people are just in the right place with the upgrade cycle. I mean, the Pixel 6 was a big launch event a couple years ago, and we're kind of at a 3-4 year window where a lot of people do get their phones. There was a lot of great carrier deals, and Google themselves even had some decent deals. So I expect Google to keep the pedal to the metal. We know that November, when it comes time for Black Friday, historically, they have good sales, and that's when people like to buy them. It's whenever Google typically screws us, right? Because normally the phones come out in October, and then just a short couple of weeks later, it's like, ta-da, we have a big sale for Black Friday or that whole week or whatever. So I expect Google to be very aggressive with the sales. I'm hoping they still maintain some sort of decent trade and stuff for people looking to move over. And I think more people are looking to move over than ever. I mean, the S24 Ultra, as good of a phone as it is, it looks pretty much and acts just like the S23 Ultra, which is just like the S22 Ultra in many ways. The iPhone 16 Pro Max, 16 series, just like the 15, just like the 14. So I think a lot of people that have been embedded with those for a long time are kind of tired of the same old, want to try something else. And it kind of lines up because from my experience, or at least talking to people, most people that move from Apple don't typically, I think, go to Samsung. A lot of them like to go to Google. And Google, for the longest time, we've called it like the iPhone of Android. And for a lot of different reasons. But of course, Google makes Android. They make the Pixel phones. They've got that kind of hand-in-hand cooperation between their hardware and software department that kind of emulates what Apple does. And they make some good stuff. And of course, the cameras on the Pixel phones very noteworthy. People, they know Pixel is synonymous with taking good photos, and they take better photos than ever. And of course, they've got a fantastic new selfie camera. They've got a lot of great upgrades on the Pixel 9, especially the Pixel 9 Pro series phones. We've got the new Pixel 9 Pro, which is the smaller phone, which I love. I love that it's got the smaller form factor, much akin to what you get with the iPhone Pro series, like the iPhone 16 Pro, 15 Pro. That's something that's been missing in the Android department for a long time, especially here in the United States. So I think that was big and helped bring people over. Of course, we got the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which people I think are largely happier about than the original Pixel Fold. So there's a lot of positive things for the Pixel 9 series. A lot of positive things going on newsworthy-wise. We got Android 15. So it's been a lot of excitement, a lot of new stuff, a lot of publicity across the board for the Pixel brand. So it wouldn't completely surprise me. Again, I don't think we're in the 12.9% category. I think that that's probably going to get walked back a little bit. But even if they get to 7, 8, 9%, I mean, that would be huge when it comes to market share momentum, and definitely put Samsung and Apple on notice and maybe drive some change. And of course, that's what we want, right? We want to have viable third-party phones, like not just Apple, not just Samsung, but seeing all the good stuff from Motorola, especially with the Razr phones, seeing the good stuff from Pixel. Yeah, it gives us more competition here in the U.S., even with OnePlus. We got the OnePlus 13 coming out soon. That looks like it's going to be a fantastic phone. So having these kind of solidified brands that offer a little bit different experience, usually better pricing, give you something a little bit different, little bit of different flavor than Samsung and what Apple brings to the table. And of course, I know I'm not a big fan of the Pixel tablet, but it exists. And then, the latest Pixel Watch 3 with the Watch 3 XL, the latest Pixel Buds Pro Series 2. So there's been a lot of development in the ecosphere that Google's really been hammering down, trying to build like a more robust platform that's an option for people, because one of the hardest things about leaving Apple has always been, the Apple Watch, the iPad, the MacBook, all that stuff. So the more and more they do with that, and then also having RCS support, especially with iOS 18 now, people can more freely detach themselves from the iPhones, and they can still communicate with their friends. Now they can send higher quality videos and pictures, read receipts, better support for chat groups and group chats and stuff like that. So I think that right now Google is in a very good position with this stuff, and largely it's been a very successful rollout. But I just wanted to share that with y'all and also get some of your feedback. Like, do you think that they're doing good things? Do you see more of the phones around? Do you have a more positive thought or reaction about the Pixel brand now than you have in the past? Because I think they've been doing a lot of good stuff. especially with this last launch. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, of course, go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.